Excellent. And I want you guys to get all your blues out on your palette. And I want you to, and I don't care what they are. I just want to see what blues you have because obviously this is a blue painting. Here, hold on, I'll pop it up so you can see it. And one of the things we need to see as we're starting to kind of layer things in is what do your blues do? What's the difference between a warm and a cool blue? The blues I have might be different than the blues you have. So our first exercise is going to be very simply looking at our blues and seeing what happens as we lighten it with water. So, and yeah, and then we'll use it as a little. So this is the first one is just, if you're ready.
Yeah.
I can kind of show you the first one. By the way, how is everybody? JC, how was your week?
It's been splendid, actually.
That's fucking awesome. Annika's been painting her bathroom in Sweden, Adobe Southwestern style colors. Christina is taking a cool art therapy workshops. We want to hear all about that, Christina. I think that's awesome.
Oh,
Me,
yeah.
I'm like holding steady. I actually had this incredible experience in the last 2 weeks. I should say that when I was in my mid 20s, mid to late 20s, from 26 to 30, I lived in Asia for 5 years. I was not a journalist then. I'm sorry, I was not an artist then. I was a journalist. I worked in Hong Kong for 2 years for Time Magazine, helping cover the handover to China between 96 and 98. And I had two people from that period, which is now 28 years ago, come visit me in the last 2 weeks. People I haven't seen in
Wow.
a really, it's amazing. It's just blown my mind. Like, you know how you have these time periods in your life that are very essential, but they're so far away.
Um,
It's amazing. Yeah, it was really wild. Hi, Diana.
Hey,
How you doing?
good. Was stressed out. I have so much work, so I'm not sure I even gonna paint, but I brought my work computer in here, so I think hang
At
out with
least you
the.
can work out. That's awesome. Is it the gala that's stressing you out?
Oh, it's not stressing me out, but it's a lot of work to do.
It's a lot of work.
I can't just ignore it.
Right, exactly. JC, you probably the only one who doesn't know this because Annika and Christina are LA Press Club members, but twice a year Diana does these massive fundraising galas for the LA Press Club, and they're like sort of red carpet affairs. They involve a lot of awards to local journalists. They have like she has fascinating like celebrity keynote speakers. They're massive.
I have one from your part of the world. We have Clarissa Ward coming in from London.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
She
All
is
right.
CNN's chief international correspondent.
That's awesome. Oh my God, that's so cool. So we're going to start wet on dry. Are you guys all here and ready to start the
yep.
lesson? Okay, awesome. So what I want you to do, get your brush wet. With each of your blues, I want you to get kind of a pigment heavy. And as you can see here, I'm going to move this over here so you can see all the things. This is ultramarine blue, and there's a lot of, it's a very heavy pigment, right? It's quite dark. I'm going to lay a dark strip down there. Notice I kind of pushed my water around, and then I'm going to label it underneath with a pen, whatever the color is. With a pen that works. Come on, pens. What the hey? What the hell? Here, hold on. Somewhere I have a pen that works. You work? No, you don't work either. Okay. I have all these pens here. One of them is going to work because they're there. And while we're going along, JC, I want to hear things like how was your day wonderful, whatever you feel like sharing. This is ultramarine blue. And so you can see my brush has just been, oh, hi, Valentina. Good to see you. All right,
Hello, I made it.
no, you're fine. We're just getting started. Valentina, you probably haven't met JC Niala, who is one of my best friends. I
No.
am happy to brag because I love her so much. In London, in Oxford, and Valentina's in Milan, JC, and she works for Reuters. All right,
Oh.
so all we're doing right now is testing our blues. And what you'll see is that I've done this sort of heavy pigment, and now I'm going to dip my brush in the water again, and I'm going to do another test right next door. And then I'm going to dip my brush in the water again, tap it on the side, and do another test. And I'm going to dip my brush in the water again until I see kind of what my blues do. So I'm labeling the blue down here, kind of seeing what the blue does as it gets lighter and lighter. That's what I want to see. Now, because this is really wide, and we're doing wet on dry, because this is really watery, can you see how this will be helpful as we start to figure out what blues to use here? I think this will be very helpful. And I'm going to do this with all my blues.
I only
Now-
have two blues.
What?
I only have two blues.
Then do it. Absolutely do it with your two blues. I have like 3 or 4 because I have some crazy colors like turquoise that are fun. This is phthalo blue. Look at, you might not be able to tell the difference between phthalo blue and ultramarine blue in the darkest. But when you lighten it, you can really see this one's quite, here, I'm going to bring this down a little bit so you can guys can see a little bit more. Maybe not down that far. You can see that as I lighten it, it's a very different. So ultramarine is what I would call kind of a warm blue. It's a little bit more purplish in color, a little bit reddish. And phthalo blue is a cool blue. It's a little greener. What you want to create is kind of a descending pattern. These are just extra colors because I've got them. This is cobalt. It's one of Diana's favorite colors, and I really have learned to love it and add it to my palette too. Thank you, Diana. It's kind of a neutral, although a little bit more on the warm side. It's more purpley than it is green. And when you think you've got them, and then this is yeah, if you only have two, that's totally fine. This is Prussian. And you can keep this. We'll look at this as it dries. Oh, God. Okay, here we are. Prussian. What I want to see here is your ability to kind of lighten a color with water. I want to see how you do there. But I also want you to have a little map about what your colors kind of are. There we are. Prussian tends to be a little bit, and maybe to start evaluating a little bit what's warm and what's cool. And how do you get colors to go cooler? And then just for flashiness, for kicks, let's do turquoise, which is crazy. Really more green than blue, but bluish. Very popular color. Notice I picked up a little bit of like sort of wet paint from the previous pile to make it a little bit darker. I can do that. I still want descending. So when you've got that, go ahead And we're going to look at our painting and see kind of what are the colors. Well, we'll talk about two things. We'll talk about warm and we'll talk about cool. And take your time doing this because this is one of those nice, relaxing. I'm just waking up myself, and this is kind of one of those relaxing, fun things. Well, not just waking up, but just getting started to work.
It's okay if you're just waking up, Leah. It's all good.
It is. No. I mean, I got up, if I want to be honest, I got up at 5:30, but I've been kind of fucking around for I didn't do anything productive, JC. I've done nothing productive until now. And so when you've got them, lay them out and let's see them. I hope everybody's enjoying this because this should be kind of fun. We're going to do a little color mixing too, but I want you to kind of know what you're mixing before we get started. And also, how many people here have tubed white watercolor? That
Yep.
means not as a pat, but in a tube.
Yes.
You've got it. Great. Do you have white gouache? If you don't, do you have white gouache? Anybody not have? So this is gouache, which is a slightly more opaque medium. But really, all you really need is tubed white. Now, my big challenge is to find my tubed white watercolor paint. Tubed white is important because we can kind of use the wet paint to lay a little bit of lighter over darker, but we can't do that with a pat. If it's dry and you make it wet, it doesn't work. You need kind of tubed paint, which is wet. Where is mine? This is watercolor, tubed white. No, I have a better tubed white than that. Yeah, there we go. Oops, that one. All right, let's take a look. Okay, cobalt. Nice, Val. Good. Intense. All right. Excellent. Val, in your view, which are the cool blues on your palette? And actually, I'm going to hold on before you answer that question. I'm going to call this up so everybody can look at it. It's a fun way to do this. So you can see Val here has 4 blues: cobalt blue, ultramarine, cerulean, and intense. Which blues would you characterize as warm? And if you don't know the answer, that's fine. But if you have an idea, tell me, talk to me.
I don't know, the first one maybe.
The first one's warm?
I don't know why though.
Okay. So which ones are cool in your view? You're right. Does that mean these 2 are cool or these 3 are cool? Take a guess.
I would say the bottom 2.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So let's talk about why. I'm going to give you the language to talk about this, right? The concepts. So it's really interesting. A lot of art, a lot of things we can see, but we can't explain because we haven't been taught how to talk about them. And warm and cool is one of those things. So there are ways we kind of intuitively know these 2 are warm. And what does that mean? It means that the blue is a little bit more purplish when you lighten it. Can you see that? As compared to these 2, where as you lighten it, it's a little bit more green, right? So that means this blue has, right? Always we know that all these different blues have. So this is these are warm blues. And these are things that are greenish, blues that are greenish are a little bit cooler. They will react differently when you mix them. Um, I like excellent. It's excellent. So, but you knew it, Val, right? But you're like, okay, how do I? And many people will tell me, well, I don't see any purple in here at all. So that may not be helpful to you, but just see that this is definitely not green, right? This is definitely greenish, these two, and these are not. So that's the basic idea behind this concept is you're going to be all your colors have warms and blues. Let's see. Here's Annika's. Can you guys see Annika's now? Annika, which ones are warm and which ones are cool? Would you say? Are you there, honey? Oh, Annika, you're
Yeah,
muted.
unmute.
Yeah.
So cerulean blue is warm.
N-
That has
Cerulean-
green in it.
That has green in it, so that would be cool.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm sorry. It's got
Yeah.
green, in it, so it's cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I
Cool.
have one called Indentine blue, and I think that's cool too.
I agree. It looks cool to me. I think it's probably a little bit like my Prussian here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I have ultramarine and Windsor blue, and those I think are warmer.
I think the only warm one you have is ultramarine.
Okay.
Yeah. And Windsor looks greenish to me.
Okay.
You guys see that? Yeah. It's sometimes it's tricky.
Green.
And sometimes colors can be like both things. They can be both warm and cool. All right, here's JC. Excellent. Cobalt and marine. So JC, what would you say about these? Are they warm? I like this testing sheet, by the way. It's
Nice.
very. Go ahead.
No, I was just, to be honest, trying to remember what it is you said about ultramarine. The I think cobalt is sort of neutral somehow.
Yes, yes. Cobalt can go either direction. So for you, that'll be the closest thing you have to cool,
Mhm.
right? A cool blue. You may want to bulk up your blues a little bit as we go forward, and definitely ultramarine is warm. There's no greenish in this. Cobalt, that's a good observation, JC, and I think it's true. Cobalt is a little, could go greenish and also could go bluish, purplish. It could be either. That's what's kind of valuable about it as a color. Excellent. Great job. Anybody else want to show? And some like blues are very obviously green, right? Some are not as obvious, right? So you have to kind of look at them and evaluate. And the next thing we're going to do is look at these blues and figure out which ones. And Christina, do you have it for me? Do you want to pop that up really quick before or we can wait? You don't have to do it right now. I don't have to rush you. We can kind of move ahead and evaluate the blues here. JC, I might have, when you do some mixing, we might have you mix tiny bits of green in your blue. We'll see. We'll see. As we get started, we'll see how that goes. While we're waiting on Christina getting her stuff, so we'll take a look at yours. Let's look at this landscape. And I'm going to point out different areas to you. Tell me what kind of blues we've got going on here. What would you call this blue, warm or cool? This one back here, warm or cool?
Cool.
That looks a bit cool. Looks like it's got some green in it.
With green,
Exactly. Excellent
Yeah.
eye. Excellent eye. So then what about the closer plane that's in front of it? Here.
It's warmer.
It's warmer, but it could be neutral. So maybe this is a good cobalt kind of ish color, right? Definitely this is warmer than this. Excellent. And then here, what about this tree line here? This is a little tricky because there's two colors in this tree line. Can you see the two colors? Let's see if we put them up here. I'm going to put this up a little bit. Can you see the kind of two colors of the tree line?
There's green, but there's actually the blue in there seems a bit warmer.
Yes!
Because
A plus!
it's
A
if you
plus.
starting from the left where you have the two white lines, it's in there. It's exactly there that you can see the
Mm,
warm bit.
exactly. And this area, which is a little bit dark and muddier, is actually a mix between orange and blue and a warm blue, right? You see this little orange
Yeah.
bit sort of blossoming. I'm not exactly sure, and we're going to do a test to see what works best. You know, me not being a watercolorist, I'm not sure if we start with orange and layer blue on top, or if we just mix it together. So we're going to try both in a sample format. JC, excellent eye for warm and cool. I want you to really commend yourself. Like that is, does everybody else see what she means here as you're starting to evaluate? So this is cool. This is warmer or neutral. This is definitely warm as we come up close, and we're going to practice. And then down here too, these are the same. And maybe this is slightly bluer, but this is well, maybe this is warmer. So when you're evaluating which blues to use, it helps to see them, right? Kind of lined up and how they get lighter. So this is kind of your little chart for that. Excellent. I want us to try two things next. Does anybody have questions about that? Does anybody have questions about warm and cool? We're going to look at this with other color palettes too, reds, yellows. It's funny, in general, on the color wheel, reds and oranges and yellows are considered warmer, and blues and greens and purples are considered cooler. But of course, within each color, there are warms and cools. Within each red, there are warm reds and cool reds, and they do very different things. Within each color range, there are warm blues and cool blues. And when you mix them, they do very different things. So it's kind of good to have an eye just not only on hue, but also warm and cool, which is a hard thing. You know, it's funny. That's one of those things that seemed really easy to me, and I never really spelled it out before. And then I realized I would be talking about warm and cool, and people are like, I don't know what you're talking about. All right, Christina, we're going to take a look at that for a second. But one of the
Oh,
things that,
yeah, I
huh?
put it in Tuesday watercolors because I don't think I'm in Saturday. The
This is
WhatsApp.
Friday.
Oh,
This is Friday.
Friday. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Where's
Oh,
Friday?
Christina, do I need to send you a judging reminder?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
yes. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that.
Is she doing all the art stuff this time, Diana?
No. This is for this is for Washington, D.C.
Ah, very nice. All right. So Diana is a great reminder. So I want us to try two things. I want us to take a little bit of burnt sienna. Do y'all have burnt sienna? Hoping you all have burnt sienna.
Yeah.
If you want to, we can do with burnt sienna what we did with blue. That's like burnt sienna, really heavy. Oops. No, I'm sorry. That's like burnt umber. Here, wait. My palette's mucky. Let me start again. This is burnt sienna. Burnt sienna should be very orangey.
Leah, what do you recommend for alternative to burnt sienna? My art supplies got moved around.
Hijacked again.
Yeah.
Do you have burnt umber?
I have,
Are you using that big palette of your grandmother's?
yeah, I'm using there's gamboge and
That's definitely not orange. That's yellow.
this one at the end might be kind of an orange.
I feel like you had burnt sienna in that palette. I feel like you had it.
I think I did, and I'm trying to
So try it. Lay it out there, and then we'll take a look and see. This is burnt sienna, if you want to give yourself this. So what do we know about burnt sienna and blue? We know when we combine them together, we get a kind of neutralized or grayish version of the other. So if I want to make a kind of orange that's grayish, like sort of more neutral and not so poppy forward, I would mix a little bit of blue in it. And so burnt sienna can work either as an orange or a red. So these are the complementary color theories. We know if we put them next to each other, they'll kind of pop each other. If we mix them together. So what I want to try next, and I will demonstrate this, and then I'll have you guys try it, is I want us to try to do just a little simple tree line. We're basically doing this, but just on our paper. And you're just going to start with burnt sienna. And then we're going to let it dry. You can see I'm not getting really precious about this, and I'm also not getting very dark. Those first layers, even though this is quite a dark layer, I want to see what happens when this dries and I do a blue orange mix to put over it, if that's the best way to let this little red come through, or if I just mix blue and orange together and kind of pop little bits of orange out on the side. I'm not really sure. Since I haven't done watercolor very much, I don't really know. So we're going to experiment together. And while this dries, I'm going to take, as JC identified, a warm blue, ultramarine, and I'm going to mix it with my burnt sienna. Okay, that's a little too brown. Whoops, sorry, you can't see that. Let's put this over a little bit. It's a little too brown, so I'm going to get more blue. Just out of curiosity, I might also mix cobalt and burnt sienna just to see what happens. That's definitely too much cobalt, so I'm going to grab it, or burnt sienna, so I'm going to grab it more. So I have two little sample mixes. I'm going to lay them down here. Once again, do the same thing, and I'll show you what the two colors are. This is cobalt plus burnt sienna, lighter and lighter. And this one is running out of space here. To mix some more. This is ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Similar. Fairly similar, actually. All right, so see how I'm doing all this testing on the paper before I even lay it down? And I actually think that maybe the ultramarine blue is the better one. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I actually can see that this dark kind of seems to match, that I mixed kind of seems to match, both of them seem to match what's happening here. So go ahead and get to that point. And then, of course, we're going to wait for this to dry, and then we're going to layer one of these mixes over the top of this. See what happens. Can you believe this, Diana? Have you ever seen me slow myself down this much?
I don't know.
I often think my students benefit when I don't know how to do something.
Probably.
Because when I do know how to do it, I'm just like, and like, oh, didn't you see that?
Darn, I just got a no from Jamie Lee Curtis.
Why?
No.
Why?
She has a conflict for our date.
Oh, that's too bad. She doesn't know what she's missing. Jane.
But yeah, absolutely. She doesn't know what she's missing.
He doesn't know what she's
That,
missing.
that's okay. But
She's pretty great though.
yeah, she would have this year would be perfect that she was one of the first ones to put in $1 million for victims of the fires.
Good. Oh, that's probably why she's so popular right now.
Well, she's also doing, she has one, she has so much work coming out. She has a new movie coming out in the summer. And
I fucking love that. She's a 70-year-old and like, right? Like she's
no,
70,
I don't, she's not quite 70.
but she's in her 60s
Yeah,
and she's having this great career revolution. It's fucking great.
I don't think she ever had to slow down, did she?
No. Well, I think there was a time period when she wasn't in a lot of movies. Yeah, in
Yeah,
between
when
the
she was a
90s,
yeah, that was 10 years when she was a
10
nanny.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready to see what happens when I lay down one of these mixes on top of this? Shall we see what happens? Let's look at what happens. I'm going to try my ultramarine blue. I'm going to mix a little bit more because I can see. All right, so as I go over, let's layering it down on top, and I'm letting little bits of the edge poke out. Here, I'm going to go down lower so you can really see what's happening here. Yeah. So you can't really see me mixing right now because I really want you to look at what the brush is doing. But you can see I'm kind of, it's interesting. We're going to put another layer on top of this when this dries to see. It's interesting. The base layer really influences what's underneath, what's on top in an interesting way. It lightens it. So the question will be, can we get it as dark as it needs to be with this light base? And I'm kind of letting little bits, I don't know if you can see this, I'm kind of letting little bits of the orange pop through. I'm not sure. And obviously, a lot of times with watercolor, of course, things dry lighter. So when you're creating darks, you layer up for your darks. We're going to take another piece of paper, or I might flip this one over. Or maybe I'll just, well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, maybe actually, just so I can stay on the same piece of paper. I just kind of wiped out one of the mixes here. Because the second thing I'm going to do, and you can do this if you want to as well, or you can just watch me as I'm doing it, is I'm taking the straight blue mix and kind of layering it in without the orange underneath. And so we're just going to keep layering up to see. I do like the luminosity of the blue over the orange. I do kind of like that. And I'm going to take a picture of this now and then show you what happens when we do another layer. So essentially, this is a tree line too. I know it doesn't look like it, but this is also a tree line with just the blue and orange. Not with an orange layer underneath, but the blue and orange mix as our first. Right, hold on. I know it's blank for a second. I'm going to take a picture. Sometimes we might find that we like what's happening and it's not exactly what's happening on the painting, and that's also okay. You know, it's more like I just want you to go in with intention than anything else. What the? I'm getting there. I do know that in general, I know from acrylic and oil painting that layering creates a beautiful luminosity. And it's different here, but I kind of like the layering. And I might go for it. We'll see what happens as things get darker. We have to wait until these dry. But this is our little sample test. And then the last thing we're going to do is try a little bit of our tubed white over the top of this dark to see how easy it is to add that in. Right, not dry yet. I definitely don't think it will help to have orange under these layers. These layers look a little bit more pure to me. We might do an orange layer just here. We'll see. JC, did Nara turn 18 last week?
Just because this is being recorded, Leah, I'm not going
Oh,
to go into that.
got you. I'm so sorry. I didn't
No,
even
no, no,
think
no
about
worries.
that.
No worries at
I
all.
didn't even think about that. Oh God, sorry.
No, 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 don't worry.
This is what happens when you aren't a mother. You do not think about those things, which is dumb. I should be thinking about those things. I used to have an editor who could edit stuff out, but I couldn't really afford her anymore, so I lost her.
Uh,
That's okay. What are you guys finding? I am almost at the point where I can layer a second. Let's see. So is that your second layer, JC?
yes, I've done
Um,
2 layers, yeah.
So I think you need more blue in your mix to
Okay,
make it darker. To make it darker. Nice.
okay,
Yes.
I shall do that.
Yeah. Uh, let's see. Good. Good job, Christina. By the way, those look great.
Okay.
So when you're mixing, we often, I think it's kind of our left brain likes to make things even. So we like to take half of one thing and half of another, right? And be equal and fair in our mixing. And very often, if we're mixing something that's more blue than orange, we definitely want the blue to dominate. So we're more blue, less orange. If we're doing orange and blue, right? You know, an orangish, a sort of neutralized orange, we want tiny bits of blue in that orange. It's a funny thing. Is anybody having trouble mixing who would like some help with that? Or are you just practicing? It's okay if you don't get it right the first time, just like practice. I think I'm going to try doing a third layer and see what happens. This is ultramarine blue.
CVS Westchester.
So I've got a pretty, oh, you can't see this here. Got a pretty heavy dark blue I'm mixing with orange, but like kind of heavy dark blue for this top layer. I'm kind of getting in down here. I'm really of the belief that we probably should do a layer of orange. And now I'm starting to get kind of and because things are shifting a little bit, kind of more purer blue up here, I'm going to actually add a little bit of cobalt into my mix up here as I layer on this third layer. And I think I like that better. Yep. Then just putting this on here. You notice it looks duller. Just blue layered on top of blue with no orange. And then I like maybe try to pop the orange in up here. Yeah, it doesn't really work. I think we need to start with an orange layer. But you guys try it and you tell me. We're going to do one more thing before we start this, which is to see how our whites lay on top of something like this. So we'll probably end up starting the actual painting in about 10 or 15 minutes. It's always that, why, where does that, where's that glare? Oh, I bet it's coming from the top. This is a little bit more glary, like this spot here is not so white as it looks. So let me see, can I move you? I don't know. Let's just zoom. So maybe, so you're probably still using too much orange, but let me take a look. Burnt sienna. Let's see. Yeah, you need blue. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's any blue in there at all, right? Let's get lots and lots of blue. Let me, I like looking at these practices though. They're really helpful, right? Because we're really practicing how this works. Look at my mixing here. Here, hold on. I'm going to show you guys here. And I'm going to wipe this out. This is kind of on every layer. This is kind of how the mix should look. So this is ultramarine blue, right? Very blue. This is burnt sienna. You're really looking for something that looks more like this than if I use a lot of burnt sienna and I just tap in blue. See the difference? That makes a brown. Here, I'm just going to flip this over so you can see it. So that's kind of more brown. That's why you get brown, because you're not using enough blue. This one is a lot of blue and a little bit of brown. And you get more kind of brownish. More bluish. If you're getting this, it's too brown. Too much brown. Right? Not enough blue. So this is why we're practicing. It's good. Mixing is hard. It's very, very hard to get it just right. It's important to kind of understand warm and cool, what like warm and cool things do. Notice we aren't using, we're using a warm blue. If you tried to do this with a cool blue, like phthalo, it would look a lot different. See, it looks almost green. And as much orange as I try to put in there, it just isn't the correct hue at all. So I need to know that a warm blue, and that's because this is a blue that's so green. It's just going to create a different mix. Testing mixes, yes. You're starting to get there. I still see a predominance of orange.
Uh,
So I wonder if it's the layering that you've done. I'd like to see you try a new layer.
Okay.
Do you see it, JC? Do you see
yeah,
it?
no.
Brown?
The mixing I was trying was at the top. I'm just waiting for everything to dry now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Oh, I see. Hold on. Let me take a look at that then. Let me take a look.
It's
Oh
the
yeah,
brush
much
stroke.
better. Love the stuff at the top. The stuff at the top is the top right. Here, hold on. I'm going to pop this up and show you. I'm so sorry. I didn't understand what I was looking at. Here, hold on. Let me take a look. Excellent. It's helpful, isn't it, to practice and see and lay stuff down? Yeah, these are great. This is what you're going for. That mix. Observe when you're mixing kind of your own surprise maybe at how much or how little of something you use. It's really interesting. And
Mm,
in watercolor painting, we always test things on another piece of paper before we put anything down. And this is why, right? Because with acrylic painting, you could just wait till it dries and paint over it. It doesn't matter. But with watercolor painting, if you get the wrong orange, right? Or you get the wrong color, you can't get rid of it. It's very exacting. Watercolor is an exacting mistress. It doesn't like. All right, let's take a look at. Valentina, beautiful. What color are you using? Burnt umber? Sorry, are you using
No, I just tested it up there, but it's burnt sienna and
ultramarine?
yes, and but also intense, I think.
Okay, so intense, I
Yeah.
think, is making it too green.
Blue, green,
Can you
right.
see that?
Yeah.
It's not really what's happening in the piece. Let me show you. Oh my God, this is great what you guys are doing. We could do this the whole damn 2 hours and I would be happy. Let's practice different. Take paper. See the difference between this. Really isn't a green. There's no green in here. So intense
Okay.
is not. So you've just learned. I mean, I like what I also think to say as we're experimenting, I like what it looks like, but it doesn't look like what is
Yeah,
on here, right? So that might be
right.
something good to note that like to yourself, like, oh, maybe when I have choices about what colors I use, I might do that layering because it looks cool. What's neat about the sort of greenish, the coolish blue over the orange is that it's a little bit more jewel toned, right? It's a little bit more dramatic and intent, so that can be something that will work for you. But right, when we're trying to recreate
Mm,
colors,
mm,
like
okay.
that's yeah, two things there. One, knock it away for later use. And then, you can see kind of how those different colors um, work out. JC, did you try cobalt as well as ultramarine in
no,
the
I haven't
mix?
tried cobalt yet.
Yeah, I like ultramarine, but it might be fun just to see what
Mm,
cobalt will do in this arena. I mean, since we're playing around and learning things about our colors. So oftentimes I'm trying to look and see if I have any watercolor paintings around that are finished. Oh yeah, Here, I think I got one. So I like to do this when I'm doing a watercolor painting. Yeah. I did it a little bit on this one. Yes, here. So oftentimes on watercolor paintings, right, I might just save a part of this was a sketch for a bigger painting that I did in oil. But I might just save a side of my painting to do my testing here, right? That's not, then I frame around it if I want to frame it. You could do that here like this. See how I'm testing before I'm trying to go in? This was our exercise that we did in the last watercolor class. We did that one, so I may drop that video into the chat so you guys can try it if you want. I don't want to, make people repeat things, one right after the other. But that was a great lesson. In fact, I was thinking about, do I want to do that today? And then I realized I did it with you guys like 4 weeks ago. So don't do it again. But I can drop it for those of you who didn't take the class. I can drop it in the chat. There's a lot in this exercise about drawing and about mixing as well. So I think it takes 2 weeks to do it. So I'll make that video available to you if you want to practice it on your own. And while you guys are working, I'm going to quickly get myself another cup of coffee. But I'm here. You can yell. I will come. Give me 1 second. The other reason I have you guys do all this testing is that, interestingly, although we might all have ultramarine blue, every paint company's pigments are slightly different. Awesome, Christina. And if you can't, don't worry about it. We'll just, I don't think we're going to get to that on the main painting next week, but if you can, that would be great. And getting yourself a tube of white gouache would be really helpful in this class.
Oh, I have one. I've been moving around, so
I know you're all over the place. I know. I totally know. Yeah,
I'm
that's totally valid. Don't worry about it. I get
I'm
it that that's happening. And here, hold on. I'm going to take a look. Who sent me stuff?
looking around.
So Christina, can you see that your orange is way too dark?
Yes.
I'm going to show you this. So that is not going to work for you. Your orange is too dark.
Yeah.
And so you're struggling to get I mean, you might be able to get more layers on top. Here, I'm going to pop this up so you guys see what I mean. You can see it when you do the layering.
Yeah.
So when you do your layering, and this is always a good idea in watercolor, it's light, very watered down layers on the first. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if you're working on the darkest area. You need to, damn it. What the, sorry, here, hold on. Dang it. Here, I'm going to show you guys what I mean. Can you see that her orange is too dominant and it's too dark?
Yeah.
Can you all see that? So it's really dominating what is going on top. So this orange is a little bit lighter. So you want your orange. So your burnt sienna kind of went on in its first layer like this. Here, whoops. That's burnt umber. Here, hold on. Your burnt sienna went on a little bit more like this. Here, let me show you. Too dark. I want this watered down, so it's more like this,
Yeah.
right? It's a difference when you lay it like this. If you go too dark, this is a great lesson in how watercolor, you have to layer up your darks. You cannot go too dark at the beginning. Even if you're working on the darkest part, you can't go too dark because the dark will dominate. And it comes through too much. Now, this light, what we saw with, what we're starting to see with JC's samples and what we saw with Valentina's is that you can see a kind of glow of orange, right, coming through and pushing the dark in a really beautiful way. And that only happens when the orange is light, like light, and the dark can dominate. So try it a little bit. Try it a little, do another pass and try it lighter. I like
Okay.
it. But
Okay.
thank you. And you know, all I'm saying is if I like put your thing up here and say, hey, this is what needs to improve, it's not because anybody's doing badly here. It's that we're learning by looking at each other's work.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the drama of Annika's. Annika, I feel like this is way too here, wait, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up again. Give me a second. Once again, I like the drama of what you're doing, but I don't think we're getting what we need to here. Were you trying to do a whole thing here, the top and the bottom? Annika? Hey, Annika. I'm not hearing you. You are muted,
Yeah.
my love.
No,
but
I
there you are.
know that is, I did try to do the whole thing just to see if I could
What it
do
would
it.
look like.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And what I want you to notice is this mix and this mix way too. So number one, you don't want any brown in the,
No.
yeah,
Okay.
but it's good. But you know, I like it. Here's what I like, Annika. This is a wonderful, moody, like little landscape you could paint with these layers and these colors. I
Yeah.
would totally encourage you to do that. But
It's
right,
not
for
the thing,
this
yeah.
lesson, just for this lesson, but I like it. I like to
Yeah.
see how these color combinations. I think watercolor is a really natural medium for you. And what you might find you're battling as you're doing it is that you have a way you want to do it, and it's not what we're doing here, right? So
Yeah.
that's, but just for the practice of it, I want to see a sample where the brown isn't dominating. It
Yeah.
should really look blue. This is a super blue painting. So try it again. But I like,
Okay.
anyway, I still like what I'm seeing. I think it's really neat.
No, I figured I
I
had to send something in, but I know it's not right, but I'm kind of stuck, so I will. I'll try.
Outside the door.
so what I want you to try is not to try and do the whole thing.
No.
I want you to just try a sample with a very light, super light. Here, I'm going to pop it off. If you're stuck, I want to make sure you get unstuck. So if you're not able to do what this is, so I'm like taking a super light,
Yeah.
right, layer of burnt sienna, super light.
Yeah.
And then I'm mixing a blue with ultramarine and burnt sienna that looks more blue than brown. So that's what, and I can test that over, and then I can test that over here. So start with that. If you've got too much brown in, that means you need more blue,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So test that, do that, and then do this so that while this dries, you're locking in your mix here.
Okay. I need
Yeah.
more.
But also recognize what you're also kind of pay attention to the things that you can do and that you kind of want to do, because I also want to encourage that. I don't want to say, oh, that's not good, because that's not true. It's good. It's just not what's happening here. So
Yeah.
I want you to pay attention. So that little sketch you could totally redo in the colors that you did. I would encourage that, because I think that's a very you, I think that's your artist self just kind of wanting to do what it wants to, seeing the colors and doing what it wants to do with them. And it's not a bad thing. It's just not this thing.
Yeah.
It's funny. Art is this tension all the time between like what we do naturally and what we don't know how to do. So we're constantly pushing ourselves against the edge of what we don't know how to do. And the problem with not knowing how to do something is that you don't know how to do it. It's easy to try something and then get stuck, right? Because you don't know how to do it. So my challenge here, and if I'm not doing this for you, please let me know so we can break it down. My whole idea of this is that you're finding out for yourself, like kind of what is easy and what's difficult, but also what you do kind of naturally. And I don't want to squash that. I don't want to squash that.
Okay.
Your sense of values is great, Annika. Really, really good. And I think you get it in watercolor very instinctively. And that wasn't just you, that was everybody. And that's also to me. I do a lot of teaching in person now. I did a figure drawing class. There's this sort of bi-weekly figure drawing class I do. And in this particular class, I don't teach. I just hire a model and get a bunch of people together and draw. And I could not believe how fucking terrible a time I had drawing last night. I sucked. My drawing, and I'm supposed to be the teacher, and my drawing was terrible. It was absolutely fucking god awful. And I will just admit that and say it was bad. I'm not even going to show it to you guys because it was so bad. And in that struggle, I was reminded of how much this can flip back and forth, right? Like how hard it is to like sometimes the model had actually said to me that she wanted to take one of my, before the class started, that she wanted to take one of my drawings home to give to her husband as a present. And that fucking just shut me down. I like could not like, I couldn't do anything good. I did terrible. And I wanted to give her something and I couldn't, it was funny. Or maybe it had nothing to do with her. Maybe it was just my day. But, I've been doing this 25 years and I still have days where I'm like, fuck, this sucks. This is terrible, which makes me want to do it more so that I can push through it. Whatever it is. I may take a class just to help push me through it. It's one thing.
Okay, I did find gouache white.
Great. You'll love it.
Yeah.
Wash white is your friend. Once we can get here, hold on. I'm just getting my coffee. I'll get it out. Yep. Mhm. Let's see. Val, or do you like to be called Valentina?
Oh, no, Val is fine.
Val. Okay. Um, so is this yours just 2 layers?
No, it's 3 actually.
It's 3.
Yeah.
So are you using ultramarine blue and burnt sienna?
Yes, but it's very
Okay.
yellowish.
I think you're using too much burnt sienna.
Okay.
hmm
Or too much water. I don't know.
Maybe too much water, but also too much. It's too, although I remember on my second layer, things looked like this, but this looks very green to me. Now, it also might be your light as well, so I'm not gonna too much get into that, but um, I want you to try making a heavy dark blue. Let that
Okay.
dry, make a heavy dark blue, and see if that will layer on top better.
Yeah.
It's also possible that your orange is too dark, like Christina's was, right? Like this, like your orange was too dark on the base. It should be more like this,
Right.
almost transparent. That's also a possible
Okay.
place. This is awesome. So you know what, you guys? I think we're going to do a little bit more testing. I don't think we're actually going to paint this today. I think we're going to paint it next week. And this is good because I feel like this is practice. What do you say?
I found burnt sienna.
Yay! Christina is switching between, where are you right now? I can't tell because you have a background on. Are you at your mom's or are you at your grandma's?
I'm at my dad's right now, but
Your
yeah,
dad's. Okay.
yeah. I live in 3 different places basically. So
Mhm.
yeah.
And what are you thinking about? Can you tell us more about this? You don't have to if you don't want to, but can you tell us more about the art therapy degree? What are you thinking about in terms of, I mean, you still want to write, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I still want to write as um you know, maybe part-time or like freelancing. But I'm thinking of having a profession. And also, I mean, it would be interesting to write about these things in like art and psychology and all of that, but I could write about these things from like for Psychology Today or something as a
Right.
professional, therapist. So I'm looking at a LFMT. It's like uh
Licensed
licensed marriage and family therapist, and then
with the
so they're
art therapy focus.
with the art therapy focus. Yeah. So they
I
have,
love that.
yeah, yeah. So
I'm
that's,
curious to know as you get further into it, like how they use art, because
yeah.
I see this as therapy, but it's a very particular kind of therapy for a very particular kind of person.
Mhm.
Everybody who's on this call is fairly um, disciplined and motivated, I would say, right? Like you guys are typical. You're kind of a self-selected group of people who succeed in almost everything you do. And like that is not like the general population, right? Like that's like you guys are kind of self-driven, self-motivated. So the psychology of doing, the therapeutic part of doing art in this context with this group is is kind of like not generally I don't think is generally transferable. Um, I think to be a person like the people on this call, you really want to learn more than you want to be right all the time, right? You want to kind of grow your skill, and that is a certain kind of, I don't know, not everybody's like that.
Mhm.
Or maybe everybody's like that in a different way. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I still have a lot to learn about it all, but learning how to just maybe use these tools therapeutically with no like intention of, I'm gonna paint like a perfect watercolor or anything.
Right, right.
But yeah, like I've been following this one woman on Instagram. She's a art therapist in Canada, so I don't know how their training is different, but she does a lot of these like bilateral drawings. And the bilateral drawing, I guess, is like good because it's, activating like both parts of your brain. So she like goes over like exercises like that.
Fascinating.
Yeah,
Fascinating. All
yeah.
right, Val, it's getting better, but my suspicion is that the bottom layer is too dark.
It's too dark. Yeah.
Yeah. So try a lighter layer.
Yeah.
try a more watery layer and see how that works. However, I also want to affirm, just like with Annika, with JC, with Chris, everything that's coming through here, I don't dislike it. I like it as it's pretty in its own way. It's interesting. And if you decided you wanted to make a painting like that, I think it could be quite successful. So I do want to also say that, like, it's great. It's not what this guy did here, and we're going to just do our best to try and copy him. And we will not be able to totally. The last thing I kind of want to do today, I think, is once we've got a kind of a layer like this, I'm going to, God, it's been so long since I've used my white. I'm going to have to cut from the bottom. I'm going to give myself a little white watercolor from the tube like that. I'm going to do the same thing with my gouache. Because what I want to see is, so this is gouache, that's white watercolor in the tube. And what I want to see is once these things dry, I'm taking a little teeny tiny brush, teeny tiny, getting it a tiny bit wet, but just damp. This is watercolor just out of the tube. I want to see what happens when I lay it, when I try to do, see these little trunks? I might need to get it slightly wetter. If you get it too wet like this, if it's like super drippy wet, I don't think it's too heavy. So it's better to have a damp but not soaking brush, have more like actual just paint globbed on to get our little trees. And what I can also see is that maybe I need to mix a little blue in with my white. So that it's not, so I'm just playing around with how I get these lighter tree colors on top with my white. And I'm sort of I'm tinting it blue in a couple cases just to see, right? How can I lay that on top of my dark? Seems kind of successful. I haven't even used the gouache. I'm using a white watercolor in the tube. So this is the last thing we'll kind of test today is mostly, and see, I'm not really too fussy about my mark making right now. I'm more just like interested in, can I lay it on dark, over dark and get my tree in? Because if that's the case, then we'll add these in last. And I think that's the case. I think we can say that's the case.
That looks like it.
So once I get a dark base that I like, I'm gonna play with that white watercolor and just make a few lines like this, and then we'll get going on it. Well, I mean, maybe we'll start the drawing. I don't know. We have 40 minutes left, but I am happy to just stay in this realm, or we can go forward. It's up to you guys. Tell me. Let's look at where we're at. Is anybody finding this kind of enjoyable?
Highly.
Okay, not bad on the second layer, Annika. So now you want a kind of deeper, murkier, right? Darker
Yeah.
blue
Yeah.
on your third, and I think you've got it.
Okay.
Yeah. So let that dry, mix your, see that, let me pop this up so I can show you what I'm liking. Here, hold on. Pop this up. So I love this deep, dark, murky here. That's really where you want to get to here.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And I like, see how the blues kind of interact on this neat level, and there's a couple of cool layers underneath it. It's not dominated. Yeah, I think that's great. You're in the right direction. Good job. Excellent. Excellent. We might also play around with, yeah, that's great. Hold on, let's see what JC's got. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. You know, it's amazing, JC. Look at these. Am I still up? Am I still sharing? No, I'm not. Here, hold on. Give me a second. You almost have little landscapes right in your testing marks. Look at that. It's like little landscapes. Gorgeous.
Mm.
Just this is what's amazing about watercolor that you've demonstrated is, and also love these slate grays. You are going to be able to do a lot of things with these, not in this particular exercise, but this is a fantastic thing to have. But look at how expressive watercolor is. Just in your kind of laying down of the mix, you probably did 1 or 2 strokes, right? Look at
Just
that.
one stroke, yeah.
Just 1 stroke, and you have a little, I mean, it's not like you can control that outcome, right? But look at it. It's amazing. Little tiny landscapes in your 1 stroke. Gorgeous. Love it. These are great. This is great testing. So yeah, this is where I want us to feel confident and comfortable. Mixing is challenging. Challenging. The more we do it, the more we see what we can do with it. If you want to also, you can kind of do what Annika did, and like these are clearly not something that has any, I'd say these blues are very pure. They don't, and I think we discussed, let's see, we discussed that this one is kind of a cool. So I'm kind of laying it in as a cool green. Oops, wait, you can't see this here. Hold on. Right, this one here, and then this one is kind of a warmer blue. I'm gonna clean off my palette. Also notice my palette has so much mixing on it that I actually have to clean it from time to time. Right, so I can lay down these two kind of next to each other to see how I can achieve a little bit of this. So this is just blue, watered down, and warm blue, slightly less watered down. JC, you'll just use cobalt here and ultramarine here. So you can
That's interesting.
also, what's that?
No, carry on.
No, I wasn't going to say anything. Go ahead. I was just babbling.
No,
Got me.
I was going to say, I was reading a very interesting article the other day that was talking about sort of the loss of hobbies. It
Yeah.
was saying that the problem is that nowadays, somebody has a hobby, and I think this also speaks to what you were saying about when your woman asked you for a drawing for her husband. Because there was,
Right.
for ages we just had hobbies, and then we might give
Right.
somebody a gift. But
Right.
now if anybody sees anything good someone does, they're like, oh, are you going to Etsy this? Are you going to turn it into a
Right.
business? It's going to be your side hustle. And they were saying that actually takes away from the therapeutic value or just the value of just doing something because you like doing it.
Right. Right.
And
And
how that's having adverse effects as opposed to, this just, taking pleasure for pleasure's sake.
it's funny, JC, if it was something I was strong in, like I was absolutely strong in, I'd probably have been fine, like a painting of something. But because drawing is not my strongest point, and figure drawing is not my strongest point. Yeah, I just crumbled
Oh,
into a little, I couldn't do anything. But I was also and I was tired, and I'm a professional painter, and that's what I do for a living, and that person who posed for me, she's actually a really supportive patron. It's funny, she made about $150 in tips, and she put it in dollar bills, like people like tip her, and she snuck it in my purse when I wasn't looking,
Oh.
and walked
Aw.
out. She's that kind of person. She's fucking fantastic. She's an amazing human being. And I was like, so she was like, that was her plan the whole time, right? Was to model and then put the tips in my purse and pay me and then take one of the drawings. And at the end, she was like, oh, wow, I really can't take any of these drawings. Like, they're just not any good. It was
yeah.
it was a
Figure
humiliation. Yeah. I
figure
mean, it was
drawing's really
fine.
hard. Yeah.
In the end, that is such a loving thing to do, and it isn't terrible at all. It's so wonderful in like the state of things. It was cute and funny, and I left in a really good mood, and so did she. It's not like anybody left in a bad mood, but in my own, yeah, in my own mind, I was like, shit, I need to step up my game.
Figure drawing's really hard. Like I
It
look
is.
at my grandmother's paintings now and I'm like, wow, like
Yeah, figure drawing is really
yeah.
hard. It is. And I teach it. That's one of my best classes. I teach figure drawing. That's even harder. It's just some days, and most of the time, my figure drawing is much better. It just last night it wasn't. It's just sometimes it happens that, like, even when you're good at, when you can do something, when you know it, you flip in and out of being able to be good at it. It all depends on how tired you are. I'm kind of terrible at night. I'm really tired by the end of the day. I'd been in the studio 6 hours. I was exhausted, and standing for another three and painting and focusing was like not, my idea of a good time.
Leaving
Aha.
you. Bye
Bye,
bye.
Diana.
Bye, Diana. Hej då.
Hej då.
Hej då.
So Christina, you're still sort of, yes, the burnt sienna is better. That layer is better. Is this your second layer?
Uh,
Yes.
it's just one layer of burnt sienna, one layer of cobalt
Yes.
blue.
So this is your set, but did you mix the cobalt with burnt sienna?
Oh, no, I didn't
You're
do that.
supposed to mix that. Yeah, you're
Uh,
supposed to mix that. That's the problem that you're having.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. All right. Now I know to do that.
Okay. We're
Yeah.
supposed to use, I thought we were using ultramarine. Are we using cobalt blue?
You can use both. I'd like you to try play around with both. Ultramarine is the one that I used where I think I had the most success. So use ultramarine. But I was encouraging people to try cobalt just to, yeah. So every blue layer has orange in it. Every blue layer on this tree has orange in it. That's the problem. Now I'm glad we've troubleshooted that. That's an easy thing to fix.
Okay.
If you want to get the results. Yeah, if you want to, Valentina, try it. Try cobalt just to see the difference, and maybe you like it better. I did not try it. I suppose I could try it right now. I've got this layer here of burnt sienna, so I'll try it right now. Just for the hell of it.
I have to tell you something because I haven't been on the class for a while.
What's that?
No, like I haven't been able to attend for like
Yeah.
several weeks. And then it feels very, what do you call it? Serendipitous, is that the word? Listening to you because I started the week on Monday morning. I'm the one who snapped the Pope's death.
Right.
And it was a bit of I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a bit of a mess up because we sent out the wrong tense. The snapper came in and said the Pope had died,
Oh.
which is weird. But you're told to be fast, so I didn't feel I could change it in case he meant something with this like head.
Right.
And but I mean, we completely didn't expect it. I was, the brain froze and I forgot some product codes. So we were like first, I think, in the world among like
Right.
intermediate, but very few people could see the flash. So
Oh.
so they went from, oh wow, we were first to oh fuck.
Yeah.
And I got caught in the middle of that. So I've been like all week I've been like, okay, I really shouldn't be a journalist, like
Yeah,
after
yeah,
10
you've been
years.
kicking yourself for making that, but
So
it's
what
a
you're saying,
perfectly
so
natural mistake. It's like like you have to.
yeah, but whoever pushed the back, I mean, a lot of people like in that moment they just couldn't think. I mean, the desk took 6 minutes to resend with the right product codes. It just, I don't know. the brain jams in situation like that. But then you like, which is slightly different, but kind of similar to your experience. But then you feel like such an idiot saying, "Yeah, I'm supposed to know how to do this.
Right.
I don't know how to do this. Maybe I should
You
be doing
know,
this."
it just is like I think the beauty of this story, Valentina, and you're a good journalist. Otherwise, Reuters wouldn't have hired you. It's just that you're right. Like under moments of tension, sometimes we don't do the right thing. Sometimes we make a mistake. And honestly, product codes really don't have to do much with being a journalist. That's just your system, right? So that's not really fair for you. That has nothing to do with your reporting skills or anything like that. That just has to do with like getting the right codes in, which no other news agency has to do besides you, right? Because I mean, for this particular thing. But yeah, it's still like, it's really, well, I'm sorry that that happened to you, but also it's kind of awesome like that happened to you because like you're in the middle of it. My favorite book on, and guys, I'm going to look at your stuff in a second because I like it. But I want to respond to this. One of my favorite books on making art and being a creative professional is written by a guy named Stephen Pressfield. It's called The War of Art. And he talks about how the first time he got to write a movie was Alien 4. It was like, so he got like this big credit, and he and his a co-writing credit, and he and his buddy like spent all this time writing, I don't know, Alien 4, with Sigourney Weaver and the cat and all that, but the fourth one. And he worked so hard and they got it out. And then he said, um, when the movie came out, he and his friend rented a movie theater and invited all their friends to come see. And then we're going to have a big party afterwards. And the movie was so bad that everybody just left the theater. And I mean, not during the movie, they were his friends, so they stayed to the end, and nobody came to the party afterwards. Like, it was like really, really bad. It was a terrible movie. And so then they went out to the suburbs. They thought maybe like it isn't playing in LA, but maybe it'll be playing well out in the suburbs. And they went out to a suburb and asked the guy, "What do you think of Alien 4?" And the ticket taker, and he was like, "It sucks, man. It's terrible." So Stephen Pressfield is telling this story, and he turns to his friend who's a co-writer, and he's like, "This is awful." And his friend says, "What are you talking about?" And he goes, "We fucking like wrote a horrible movie." And his friend says, "But you're in the arena. This is the only
Right.
important thing. You're in the arena. It's not whether you do a good or a bad job. You're there. You're competing. You're in the game. You're in the arena. And you get yourself back up and you do it again." Hopefully not in your lifetime, Valentina, or like in your professional lifetime. Let's hope we don't have another Pope die that soon. But like, you know what I mean? Like it's not really about being perfect. It's just about being in the arena. And the
Yeah.
level of he tells the story in such a funny way. How terrible, like what big hopes they had for it and how terrible it was, and how all their friends did not come. Everybody just thought this movie was awful. And he's thinking this is a failure. And his friend's like, "Oh no, this is just another, you're in the arena. It's all right. Get back up, dust yourself off. I guarantee that
Right.
won't happen to you again. Not that particular thing." But it doesn't feel like that in the moment. In the moment, the stories we tell is of how people get up and triumph, right, in the arena. But we don't hear about the stories where people fail because it's so embarrassing. Nobody wants to talk about it, right? But these failures are key in us getting good at what we do. And they're actually how humans learn. We learn by trying and failing. When I look at my granddaughter get up and down on her, do this little circle in the park where she climbs up on a little, step, a curb, and then she runs around a tree, and then she climbs up these steps to this slide, and then she slides down the slide. She does it like 500 times. And the first few times she kind of stumbles a little bit, and then um, and she's a very physical kid. Like she can run and hike, and she's incredibly advanced for her age in terms of her physicality because she loves it. So she just does the same thing over and over and over again. And she kind of messes it up a bunch of times. But then after the, I don't know, 100th time or something, she's got her rhythm down. And she doesn't care if she messes up. She's just having fun like doing it. It's a heart, right? It's that like part of that's how we learn how to do everything. Is that? It's so funny. I'm sorry. Here, let me pop in and take a look at what everybody's sending over here. Oh, JC, I love your these are great. Now you're playing around with texture. How do you feel about this one, Annika? You like it better?
Yeah.
Yes. So you're getting there. I like it. And you know what I like about this? It still has an Annika look. Just like JC's marks have a JC look. I like them. You're in this testing process where we're kind of taking it easy and easing into this painting before we really start the painting, which will be next week. Oh wait, next week? Maybe not next week. I can't remember if I'm teaching next week. Oh yes, next week. We'll do it next week. Um, that we are trying, failing, trying, getting up, trying again, trying, failing, like failing in crucial moments when we really want to do well, right? Wishing we could do better. That is just kind of that's how we do it. That's how we do it. So good for you, Val, you're in the arena. How is are you, but I thought you were in Milan. Am I wrong? Are you in Rome?
No, I'm in Milan. It was a holiday. It was Easter Monday,
Hmm,
so I was on duty, and that's the problem because I'm
right,
equity reporter. But when you're on duty, there's only one person for the whole of Italy.
right.
So when the brain jammed, I went on autopilot like a for equity staff or screen clients, which are I don't really do much for media clients. So yeah. Yeah. In fact, like a minute after this, like all of the wrong bureau came back from holiday, and, and I didn't get to do anything else for the rest of the day.
That
Oh my
it always
God.
seems to happen, something like that happens on the day when there's like two people on
One
staff,
right.
one
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, that seemed to happen to me a lot whenever I was on duty, on a weekend or a holiday or something. I'm just like, there was like record rainfall on New Year's Eve. There was Catherine Boudin, Chesa Boudin, the district attorney's mother, um, died, and she was notable because she was part of like the Weather Underground and part of this big like bank heist. And so like I had to
Right.
write an obituary about her on the fly.
Right. Exactly.
It always happens when you're just like, there's two people on here right now.
Yeah.
And don't forget to try there we are. Don't forget to try your whites on top of once you get a blue, try your whites, try your tubed white. You'll notice these are slightly white, but they're also a little tinted blue. So, you might try white, then you might try tinting it a little bit blue. Just look at how you can lay these trees on over this dark. See if you can make that happen, because that's probably how we'll do this. I mean, we could also totally do this first and then work around it, but it's going to be more challenging. And these things, I think, will be really, I mean, I can't even really exactly figure out what he did here. I think he laid them on top.
Can I use gouache white for this?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you don't have the watercolor white, try them both
All right.
so you see what they do. And
Yeah.
make sure not so watery. Try it watery, try it not watery. Make sure you have your dark base behind before you do this. So I want you to make sure you have a dark, dry base before
Okay.
you try that.
All
I mean,
right.
you can try it with wet, but it'll do weird things. Maybe cool things, but things you can't really control.
Gotcha.
Yeah. You know, as we're learning with watercolor, wet on wet is magnificent and also completely terrifying. It's like not, there's things it can do and there's things it cannot do. Hey, Val, thanks for sharing that. That's a fantastic story. Epic.
And it's part of your life story now, you know?
It's part of your life story.
When, yeah, you know.
I remember in my first
Yes.
newspaper job, this was in 1990, and this is when you had people doing paste up. You know, you didn't do it on computer. Like it was, you know, a bunch of guys, the story would spit out on and I worked for an afternoon paper. So we would work and work. We would start writing at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and then we'd go till like 9, and then everything would get laid out, copy edited, and then delivered by noon. And there was a cheerleader camp in the summer, and it was really hot, and the cheerleaders like all got heat exhaustion and they collapsed. This is a small like North Carolina, New Hampshire town. And the headline was cheerleaders collapse in heat. And then there's a cheesy picture of a cheerleader being, like this, being carried away because they all like, it was so bad. That could not be recalled.
Oh. Wow.
Cheerleaders collapse in heat.
But you know, Leah, you already just had me at the afternoon paper. I miss when
Yeah,
there
me
was there was
too.
more than one paper and yeah.
And they didn't have, I liked when I went from afternoon to morning, which is what I did from then on. I liked having the time, right? That you could work into the night, and then there was like a break between a several-hour break when people were sleeping when the paper came out. Because to me, that felt like a digestible amount of time. But yeah, there was something really kind of fun and immediate about the afternoon paper. Yeah, I miss the afternoon paper. Does Oxford have one paper or two?
Um,
Probably
it's just
several.
one nowadays. It's just one. I mean, when I lived in London, you would get
Yeah.
you'd hear the newspaper sellers shouting, "Final, final!" The last paper of the day.
Yeah.
Um,
When did that stop? 20 years
um,
ago? 30?
no, probably more like something around 20, I would suspect. Yes.
Right around the turn of the last century. This like when we got into the 2000s. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, you're right. It's like this whole time to digest the news, right?
exactly.
Like you had time. You as a writer not only had the time to write your first day, second day, third day story, but like people also had time to digest the first day news, the second day news, and you don't really have that luxury now. Journalists
Mm-mm.
don't,
No. No, it's
unless you work for a weekly. Unless you work for a weekly, and the
which is
weeklies,
so rare.
yeah. Our best newspaper in Portland right now is a weekly called Willamette Week. And there's like 2 journalists that are kicking ass and taking names. And that's because they have time. They have time. They don't have to generate a story. I mean, they still put out kind of a daily news digest, but they're still working on a weekly deadline. So they have time for stuff.
Yeah.
They take the time they need to write stories, and they're doing great stuff. Super
Oh
great
my
stuff.
gosh. I loved working at the weekly that I worked at. It was it was great.
Which one was that?
I was the Argonaut News Weekly here in LA, Marina Del Rey, and oh gosh, I just loved it so much. It was
Yes.
oh
Yes,
my
that's
gosh.
exactly right.
I miss my weekly days. Oh, this is,
Nice, JC.
I don't know if you've seen this. This is Delayed Gratification. It's a UK magazine, and
Here, hold on.
they,
I'm popping you up so we can see it.
they publish, I think, once a quarter, and it's all the like their catchline is like all the news that's like happened already or something. And so it's like a look back on like the last quarter of
Oh,
all the
Wow.
news. And
I'll have to
so
look for that. Thank you.
yeah, they're part of the slow journalism movement.
Yeah.
So I
Like
highly
slow
recommend.
Wow.
food.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Oh,
Oh
and their
my God.
graphics are just like great. I mean, they do like a really good job. I need to get rid of that digital background, but yeah, they just have like
Yeah,
great.
show us the
Yeah,
graphics. Can you take us some
yeah,
pictures and show us some of them?
yeah, I'll take some pictures.
Yeah, awesome. So nice. You guys are doing great. JC, try one where you kind of tint your white with a little bit of blue. You can use one of the blues that's on your palette and dry
Okay.
and see if you can still, right? Because this is white, but it's also a little blue. Just to see.
Okay.
I like it. Nice work, guys. Do you mind that this is all we did for the next week? We will paint this thing. But I feel like this is a great prep for painting this thing. If we had another hour or two, we would paint it. But I like this idea of like slowly getting into mixing and playing around and layering. Yeah, it's all about slow.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice, Annika. Yep, indeed. Indeed. So I can see down in the base here. Hold on, I'm
Yeah.
gonna pop this up so you can see it. You worked a little bit more wet, right?
Yeah.
And it's a cool fucking it's a cool technique. Look at how beautiful it is. I want to say that like everything you're doing is like convincing me. Here, hold on. I'll pop this up. There we are. Take a look at what Annika did here. I like it. See how down here it's kind of runnier, right? That's because it was wet when she layered on the top. And I like these, I can see you're playing with kind of more darkers and can I get lighters in? I love it. And I see you're like trying to layer in a little bit more blue up here where it's a little bit less brown and more blue, right? I love
Yeah.
all this technique stuff I'm seeing. And actually, this is really cool looking. Even though, once again, this is another great landscape that you could paint. Yeah. Exactly, JC. Exactly. Now, the next thing I want you to do is, JC, before we go, is to water that down a little bit, that bluish thing down, and lay that down on top. So it's not so thick and it kind of softens a little bit when you lay it down. I want to see what happens. Nice, you guys. Great work. Great work. Great work. Is this fun? Are you having fun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, I've never layered with watercolor.
With watercolor. Yeah, I know. And when I looked at this, I didn't know. I was like, I have no idea how to make this happen. So because I haven't done it enough. So I was like, okay, we're just gonna we're gonna play around with this and see what we can get. So you can layer, but it's
Yeah.
different than acrylic, right? It's
Yeah.
completely different. Yeah. You have to be so, and then these areas, right? These are so pure. There's
Yeah.
not a bit of orange in these. These are just pure blues. This is a cool blue. This is a warm blue. This is a cool blue that's lighter. This is a warm blue that's a little bit darker.
Yeah.
If you have 1 second left, you might try like that here, right? Which is what I did here.
Yeah.
You can just try it just for the head. I'm just coming in here with a little bit of darker just to see. But there's kind of a softness in between these. So I'm also seeing, I'm like, ooh, how do I kind of create that soft edge while keeping the value of slightly darker over lighter. That also is a thing. It's neat. Yeah, watercolor is just so expressive. Let's see. Hey, get up there. Yeah. Exactly, JC. Do it. Yes, you got it. Yeah. I love the one on the left. That's it. That's really what this is. And we can even kind of lighten it more as we go through and create our bases. All right, so I feel very confident that when we sit down and pick this up next week, that we'll be able to start. We'll do a little bit of warm up to remind ourselves of the mixing.
Yeah.
But we will paint this next week and see how it goes.
Oh,
Yay.
Leah,
Thank you so much, Leah. This has just been joy, pure joy.
Yay!
oh, Leah, can you add me to the Friday group?
I can. I'll do that right now.
you.
It has been joy for me too. Thank you, guys. I'm telling you. It's amazing. Oh, I might have to, I'll do it right after class, Christina. It's good. I have to do it with my phone. It's been joy for me too. I'm gonna turn off the recording.